guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Lyric. I'm an esthetician and this channel is where I talk about lifestyle and beauty. So today's video is going to be a more serious one. I do get a little bit emotional. It was a really hard video for me to decide to film because it is the first video I'm being very vulnerable with you guys. And I've always been very open on my channel. This point is where I'm actually breaking into my real personal life and what I've actually been going through for the past 4 to 4.5 years. The surgery that I had was a diagnostic laparoscopy for endometriosis, and I had a cystectomy to remove a para-ovarian cyst that has been there for over 4 years. I will end up filming a surgery update probably in the next 6 months to a year, just to kind of show you guys where I'm at, how it's changed my life, if it's changed my life at all. So I talk about my surgery and I talk about something that happened after my surgery as well as my recovery. So if you guys are interested in hearing about this, then just keep watching. This video is going to be a lot, guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty nervous to film this. I don't honestly know why I'm nervous to film this, but I feel like I am. It's just, it's going to be a lot. It's a lot for me to talk about. It's a lot of personal things about me. And honestly, I feel like I need to just first fix that stupid hair. Does that look more put together? Do I look like a businesswoman now? Okay, good. Today it's going to be a lot of information I'm going to be throwing at you. It's something that I feel like needs to be spoken about on my part. I've gone through this for over 4 years now, and I feel like other women go through this and they don't have anywhere to really turn to talk about this. People don't believe them. I know I'm going to probably get emotional during this video. I'm already starting to get emotional now. People don't believe women when they go through these issues. I've dealt with daily pain. No medication helps it. It's a lot to deal with. It's even harder when you don't have someone that supports you during that time and doesn't understand what you're going through. You just have to push through the pain. You can't do anything else. Otherwise, you're just sitting bedridden all the time. And I couldn't live like that. I had to push through the pain. I'm going to just tell you about everything, starting from the beginning. It all started one day when I was just sitting at home. I think I was cleaning my room or something, and I kept having this really strong pain in my pelvis, and it wasn't period cramps, it wasn't like a back pain, it was something different. It was like, I remember specifically what I told them was that it felt like I had a toothache in my hip. It was just such a weird sensation. It wasn't anything that I've ever experienced before, so I knew something was wrong. I think it was like over a holiday weekend, and I was like, I can't go in to see a doctor and I'm in too much pain and I don't know if it's something serious, so I think I should just go to the emergency room. It had gotten to the point where I just felt like it was enough is enough and I need to go see what's going on. I was also having, and this is where it gets a little bit more personal, a little bit more intimate. I was having some discharge that was not blood, and it wasn't like when I'm ovulating. It's not supposed to be like this. Something's wrong. The doctor did a pelvic exam, which is where they actually use their hand and they feel around inside and they say, she said, yeah, something doesn't feel right. The discharge means that there's something going on and we need to look further. So I said, okay, what comes next? And she said, you have to have an internal ultrasound done. And I said, okay. So I went in, the ultrasound tech took the ultrasound, and basically what an ultrasound is when you have to have an internal ultrasound done, they have to stick. It's so weird talking about this to like millions of people. Anyways, so they have to take this camera that's kind of like a long camera like this, and it does not bend, and they have to basically go in straight, and then they have to pivot to where your ovaries are, and like they have to press down and like move it, and it is so uncomfortable. My friend had to have one done like I think a week or so ago. She's like, oh my god, that was terrible. And I was like, I know, it does not feel good. So the ultrasound tech, as he was working, said, oh yeah, I see that you have a cyst on your right side. He's like, I'm not sure where the placement is, but it definitely is there. And he's like, they basically take this little thing on their computer and they take the mouse and they click from one end of the cyst and they drag and they click to the other end to measure how wide the cyst is. And my cyst, I think, was like 7 millimeters by 7 millimeters. So it was like a little guy. But it was causing me so much pain. And so I asked the doctor when I went back in to see her, and she's like, yeah, she's like, it's not supposed to be there. So your body is just kind of like, what's going on? And she's like, you know, usually these things just go away. You know, they'll burst, or you sometimes won't even feel them. They'll just shrink. They'll just go away. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's not that big of a deal. It's not something serious. And she's like, no, it's very common. Usually it'll go away with a couple period cycles and you won't even notice it anymore. So I was like, oh, okay, great. Months go by. Years go by. I end up developing 4 cysts at one time. I had that original cyst. It never went away. And then I got another one on my right side, and then I got 2 on my left side. I was in pain all the time. It's really difficult to function when you're constantly cramping and you constantly are having discharge or you're bleeding, and it's not supposed to be like that. About 2 years ago, I was working for a company and I had health insurance. So I went in and I got everything situated. I was actually supposed to have surgery 2 years ago to remove the original cyst. And I ended up having to back out because the company I worked for refused to give me the time off and told me that they were going to fire me if I took the time off. I don't know if that's legal. That's a whole other story. So I ended up not taking the time off. I ended up canceling the surgery and saying, you know, I guess I'm going to have to just deal with the pain and just keep powering through. And they said, you know, just keep taking pain medication, keep, you know, doing what you're doing, yada, yada. When I was in the doctor about a year ago, they mentioned endometriosis. So endometriosis is an inflammatory disorder, essentially. There's endometrial tissue that grows outside of the uterus, and it causes you to have irregular periods. It causes you to bleed. It can cause infertility. It has a lot of negative connotations with it. And the doctors said that they were like 99% sure that I had endometriosis based on all of my symptoms that I was having. So the reason why endometriosis is such a big deal is because it lowers your fertility chance. And when the doctor did my consultation a few months ago, she also mentioned to me that if the cyst is sitting on your fallopian tube, we are probably going to have to take that fallopian tube. And depending on how much it's spread or how big it is, we may end up having to take your ovary as well. Hearing that I could have endometriosis and that I may not have a fallopian tube or ovary on my right-hand side anymore, it really crushed me. And the months that I was waiting for my surgery were probably some of the hardest months of my life. I'm always going back and forth on whether or not I want kids, but to not have the option to have kids and not have that there, my mentality was completely I was so depressed thinking that I was not going to be able to ever have kids. I actually watched a video from Alana Arbucci yesterday, one of the girls I watch on YouTube, and she actually has endometriosis, and she had a diagnostic laparoscopy done. And everything else for her was okay. She didn't have cysts like I do, but, or maybe she does and she just hasn't talked about it. But she was talking about the fact that the reason why she was so worried is because her dream is to become a mom. She wants to be a mom. She knows that that's what's going to make her happy in her life. And I don't know if I'm going to have kids. If I do, it's definitely not going to be for a bit, but I'd still like to have that option there. Knowing that that was possibly going to be taken away from me was a huge shock. I was just constantly replaying the worst over and over in my head. Not only is it terrible to have endometriosis and have those chances lowered, but not having an ovary and a fallopian tube, not having an ovary is a huge thing. Like, you have to go on hormone replacement for a long time after that to regulate your body because you're taking all those hormones. You're taking something that produces all the hormones in your body and you're taking it out of the body. And that's a huge deal. So I was, reading up on things, talking to my doctors, and I was so scared. I was constantly emotional. I was constantly crying about the thought that I may never be able to have kids. In between this time, I ended up actually having an incident where I had the most intense pain I've ever felt. I've broken my knee. I have had my wisdom teeth become impacted in my jaw and move my teeth and move my jawbone. That was extremely painful, but the pain that I felt when I was having this issue, and what I later found out was the fact that the cyst that I had was sitting on top of my fallopian tube, and during my ovulation cycles and during my period cycles, it was filling with blood and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it had actually gotten so heavy that it actually twisted my fallopian tube. I went back a few months ago, and they did an ultrasound. They said, I only have the one cyst left, that original cyst. It never went away. It has only gotten bigger over the years. So they said, yes, let's remove that. It seems like it's just getting bigger. It's just causing you more pain. Let's take it out. I ended up getting my surgery on the books, and then COVID hit. Non-elective surgeries got put on hold, so I couldn't have my surgery. I ended up waiting until July, and I finally had my surgery done. I had my surgery on a Monday, and Sunday before, I had to go to like this drive-up thing. They had a swab inside my nose, and then they had to make sure that I didn't have COVID in order to have surgery. I did not have COVID, obviously, which was really nice. And so I had my surgery done on Monday. I had to wear a mask the entire time until I went into the operating room. So they took my paper mask off, they put my anesthesia on, and I was out like a light. And I remember waking up from the surgery. They said that the surgery took about 3.5 to 4 hours. And then I was in recovery for about an hour after that. My mom had come with me, so it was really nice that she was there with me. She ended up actually staying for about 5 days after my surgery as well, which was so helpful. The first thing I asked when I came out of surgery and when I was coherent enough, and I said, do I have endometriosis? And she said, no. I was so freaking relieved that I don't have it, because it's something that never goes away. And to the people that deal with it, I'm so sorry. I'm just happy that my results came back pretty great. The surgeon did have to remove my fallopian tube on my right hand side, which does lower my chances of having a child because there's nothing to carry that egg to the uterus on my right hand side. Sorry, I'm like... The good thing is that since I do have that ovary still on my right hand side, the egg still could drop and be picked up by the left side fallopian tube and still get carried in. But that's less likely to happen, so if I do get pregnant, it's going to be on my left side. But since I do have that right side ovary, if I ended up needing to in the future do in vitro or, surrogacy or something like that, I still have both ovaries, which is really nice. It has lowered my chances. I think my chances of getting pregnant now are like maybe 80 to 85% rather than 100%. So it lowered it a little bit, but the odds still look really great. That's all I was praying for over and over and over again, was making sure that I didn't lose that ovary. I assumed that I was going to lose that fallopian tube, and the surgeon said that that was going to probably be the case. There was like a really high chance that I was going to lose that fallopian tube. So that's kind of something I'd prepared myself for. But when she told me that the egg could drop from the right side and be picked up with the left side, I was like, okay, that's all I needed to know. That kind of calms my mind a little bit. It's a lot to deal with. And for anyone that has endometriosis or that has cysts or anything like what I'm talking about right now, or any other issues for that matter, and you want to talk to me about them, please DM me on Instagram or comment on here if you feel comfortable talking about it to the public. You never know who it may help to hear your story, and that's why I'm telling mine today. Even though it's really emotional for me and it's something that's kind of plagued my life for the past 4.5 years, I feel like the more I talk about it, the more I become okay with it. More people I feel like need to know about the process that you need to take in order to get your surgery done, or in order to get on the right birth control or something like that to help control whatever you're going through. And just know that it's not in your head. This pain is not in your head. So if you feel something like what I'm talking about and you've had it for a while, you need to go and get checked. You need to make sure that it's not something more serious like cancer in your pelvis or in your uterus or on your ovaries. You need to make sure to rule that out first and then take next steps for whatever it ends up being. Let's just talk quickly about my post-op. So the day I came home from surgery, I was still obviously pretty high on that anesthesia. It wasn't making me like loopy or anything like that. I wasn't even really dizzy. I was kind of a little bit lightheaded, a little bit foggy, and just tired overall. Remember talking to my mom and my boyfriend, and I was like, I really don't have a lot of pain. Like, it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. And my mom's like, you're still on the anesthesia. You're still on the anesthesia. You're not feeling everything yet. Just wait till tomorrow. And I was like, no, it really, I feel like I know my body. Like, I'm not going to be, it's not going to hurt that bad. And so the rest of that night, I ended up having to pee all the time because there was so much swelling in my stomach and in my pelvis that it was, pushing on my bladder, and I was literally peeing, a ton. And obviously, they have you on IVs and stuff while you're under, so I probably got a lot of fluids, and so I was peeing a lot, and I was also craving, watermelon. And so I ate half of a watermelon that night when I came home, and I was drinking a ton of water because you have to try and flush that anesthesia out of your system because it's literally a toxin. They're putting poison in your body to make you unconscious. So you want to get that out of your body as fast as possible. I also had this weird craving for graham crackers as soon as I came out, so I made my mom and my boyfriend go to the store and buy me Teddy Grahams and graham crackers. So weird, I know, but that's what I wanted. I wanted watermelon, Teddy Grahams, and graham crackers. That's all I wanted when I got home. And for the next several days, I was obsessed with those foods. It was probably just my hormones being super out of whack, giving me weird cravings. It was really kind of I had weird pregnancy cravings, honestly. You don't realize how much you actually use your abdominal muscles when you get up and off of a toilet. So I was using all leg muscle and all arm muscle to kind of push myself off the toilet. And I did that probably like 25 times that day because I was going to the bathroom so frequently. I would take 2 650 milligram Tylenol or a 600 milligram ibuprofen every 3 hours and just alternate. They also prescribed me another drug, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So I was alternating my medication. I fell asleep finally. I think I fell asleep at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I literally could not sleep after that. I woke up later in the day, and oh my God. Once that anesthesia wears off, it feels like you got hit by a truck. It is no joke. And not only does it feel like, I think that mine was honestly worse because I was going to the bathroom so much and I was lifting myself up. My arms literally felt like I worked out in a gym for 5 days straight. My legs literally felt like freaking jello. I was so sore for the next like several days after that while my muscles were healing from pushing up and off the toilet so many times that first day, because I didn't realize how much of my muscle group I was working out because I was on so much I still had all that anesthesia in my system, so I wasn't realizing that I had to kind of chill and take it slow, and I wasn't. Then by the 4th day, that was Thursday, my mom ended up leaving, I think, Thursday night. After she left, I ended up taking the drug that they prescribed me. That was like a step down from a narcotic. It wasn't like oxycodone. It wasn't hydrocodone. It's a drug called tramadol. And so they gave me the tramadol for when the pain got to be too much. And on the 4th day, it became too much for me, where I was like, the ibuprofen and the Tylenol alternating is really not doing anything for me. I think I need to step it up a notch and take that tramadol. I ended up taking the tramadol around 7 or 8 o'clock at night on Thursday. By midnight, I was starting to get a really bad headache, and I felt like the pain was still there. It didn't feel like it really did anything to me. But I was like, I can't take another tramadol because that's too much of one drug. So I took an ibuprofen, and the ibuprofen is a 600 milligram tablet, like I said, that the doctors gave me to take home. So I go to sleep, and this is where it gets super interesting. I go to sleep, and I was having nightmares. I remember I was having nightmares, and I have something called sleep paralysis that I get once in a while, where you literally will wake up, and your body's frozen, and you can't move anything but your eyes, and you're like looking around, and you just feel it. It's scary. It's so, so scary. So I felt like I was having sleep paralysis, but I kind of woke up and I realized my eyes were literally like rolling back in my head and I couldn't focus. And I was like, this is not normal. Like, I don't get that with sleep paralysis. Like, sleep paralysis, usually I just like wake up and I'm like looking around, but my body feels like frozen. And so my eyes were actually like rolling in my head like this, and I couldn't focus. My boyfriend was laying next to me, and I tried to grab him, and I kept going like this on my palm because I couldn't move my body, but I kept going like this with my hand trying to grab him, and I could feel my body like shaking and my eyes rolling, and I was like, what is going on? And so I grabbed him and I woke him up, and I was like, I like finally stopped shaking and stopped with my eyes rolling. That only lasted for like 20 seconds while I was coherent for it. It was probably like 10 to 20 seconds of me being coherent and trying to grab him, but I couldn't. And so I woke him up and I said, I think I had sleep paralysis. I'm really scared. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And he was like petting my head and like trying to soothe me back to sleep. So I kind of snuggled closer to him and I grabbed his hand. Looking back at it, I now realized that every time I was trying to fall back asleep, I would get that same sensation again of my eyes rolling back and me started to twitch again, and I was grabbing his hand every time I did it just to make sure, because I was feeling like it was feeling really dark to me and really, really scary. And looking back now, I know that narcotics can do that to you. You can have really vivid dreams and really bad nightmares, and that's all I thought was going on. So I woke up at about 10 o'clock in the morning the next morning, so Friday morning. My boyfriend goes to work at like 8 a.m., so he wasn't home anymore. I'm by myself. It's the first day by myself because, like I said, my mom left Thursday, so I was alone for the first time. As I woke up, my head was spinning. Like, I was so dizzy, and I was like, this is so weird. Like, it must be that freaking drug I took last night. And then I remembered what happened in the middle of the night, because I like kind of just passed out after all that. I was sitting there thinking, and something you should know about me is I used to have seizures when I was a little girl. For years, I had seizures, and there are certain types of seizures where you will grow out of them, and I was lucky enough to grow out of mine, but my neurologist said I would have migraines frequently as soon as I hit puberty. And he was right, and I do, and it's just something I have to deal with from time to time. And that was also a symptom I was getting a lot of when I decided to have the surgery, and I was like, I can't take this anymore. I was having migraines almost every day because my hormones were so messed up. Anyways, I texted my boyfriend and I said, I think I had seizures last night. And he's like, what? He's like, I thought you said it was sleep paralysis. And I was like, no, looking back at it, I've never had sleep paralysis like that before. And I was like, I remember convulsing and my eyes rolling back in my head. I was like, I feel like I had seizures. And he's like, okay, well, you need to call someone. So I called the ambulatory surgery center at the hospital that I was at, just a few days previous. They transferred me up to the gynecology and obstetrics department of the hospital. And they said, call your primary care physician. They said, that's really weird. We haven't had that happen before. Talk to your primary care physician and see what they want you to do. So I called my PCP. My primary care physician is at an office just down the street from me, and the hospital is kind of like 20 minutes away from me. So she's like, if you do end up needing tests and stuff done, I can't do them here if we need to use like a CAT scan or an MRI or something like that. She's like, so just go to the hospital, go to the emergency room. So I was like, okay. I get to the emergency room. They do everything, they check, they take my temperature, make sure I don't have COVID, all that kind of stuff. And I go back into the emergency room. And my doctor walks in and he goes, okay, so tell me what's going on. What happened? He's like, I just saw that you were in here because you think you had a seizure. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I had seizures as a little girl, so I know what they feel like. And I know how I felt like I had a seizure previously. Because after I had seizures when I was little, I would still remain dizzy for like the next day or two because it really messes with your system. I told him, I was like, I know what a seizure feels like. I'm pretty sure I had a seizure. I said, I'm pretty sure I actually had several. Because like I said, when I kept trying to fall asleep, I would feel that kind of dizziness kind of take over me and that kind of like lightheaded blackout kind of thing. It kept hitting me over and over again. And I kept trying to fight it. And I'm pretty sure I had probably about 4 seizures. And that's what I told him. He's like, okay, so what did you do differently? He's like, I know you just had surgery. And I was like, well, I took tramadol the night before because that's what they prescribed me. And he goes, I'm just going to stop you right there. And I was like, why are you stopping me? Like, I'm not done with my telling my story. And he's like, I don't even need to hear the rest of it. He's like, tramadol causes seizures. And I was like, huh? And he's like, 9 times out of 10, patients that are prescribed tramadol have seizures. And I was like, so why was I prescribed tramadol when I have a history of seizures and the doctors and the surgeons knew about my history of seizures? He's like, I have no idea why you were prescribed this drug. This should have never been prescribed to you based on your history. And so I was a little bit pissed because I was prescribed a drug that literally causes seizures. He said me taking that 600 milligram ibuprofen right after that tramadol, he's like, you were already probably starting to have the symptoms of going into a seizing episode because I told you I was having a migraine. And then I took that ibuprofen, and the ibuprofen actually lowers the seizure threshold, so it actually caused my seizure too. But I've taken ibuprofen for years. The ibuprofen wasn't what caused it. It was the tramadol combined with the ibuprofen that ended up causing the seizure for me. Word to the wise, if you could prescribe tramadol, do your research and maybe just don't take the drug altogether. I had a bad experience with it. Maybe you won't, or maybe you don't. Maybe you do take it. I just want people to know about it, and, they can drag me. I'm not mentioning the hospital. I'm not mentioning the surgeon's name. It was just an honest mistake, but it could have caused a lot of damage, and it scared the living shit out of me, to be quite honest, because I haven't had a seizure since I was a little girl, and it's not a nice feeling. You don't want to have seizures, guys. My EKG came back, my blood work came back normal, everything was fine. He said, you just need to rest and recuperate and not ever take that drug again. I got through that, and since then, I've had, constant pain. It's obviously not comfortable. My incisions are almost completely healed now. I still have a little bit of tenderness, honestly. The incisions I have one on my right side, one on my left side, and then I have one in my belly button. It actually went through my belly button, and that one hurt the worst. That one was the one that I constantly felt pulling from and like tugging inside. Like it's not a comfortable feeling, and you have to cut through like the actual abdominal muscles to get to that one. So it definitely hurt the most out of the other ones. Like the other 2 incisions, I really didn't feel too much at all. Like they were tender and they bruised a lot because when they cut into you and they, go down in there, it obviously bruised my skin surrounding it. And it still hurts even today. Like I'm feeling pain from it. It's still tender to touch, and I have to be really careful when I'm like washing my stomach in the shower to just like be really gentle around that area still, but the side ones are not as bad. I'm still gentle around them because I don't want to like hit something and cause like internal bleeding or something like that, because it would be likely to do something stupid like that. So I'm 4 weeks out now, and I forgot to mention too, so they also talked to me beforehand about placing an IUD. So an IUD is like a birth control device that they actually place inside of you. It's the Mirena birth control IUD, and I think it's a 5-year IUD. So they placed that for me as well. And so they said, you know, you won't have to take birth control for 5 years. And I was like, great. And I was like, I always thought it was a contraindication because I have the cysts. And they said, no, this is probably going to be better for you because it's releasing hormones at the source to balance everything. I just got my period again. Guys, it's not fun. After the surgery, it literally right now, just sitting here right now, it feels like my pelvis and my abdomen are on fire. And I'm getting a lot of really strong pains on the right side where I had that fallopian tube removed. Because the lining is trying to shed and everything is kind of cycling like it naturally does every month. It's lasted for 2 weeks now I've had my period. I've had really bad pain for the past week and a half to 2 weeks now. And it's just been horrible. I was doing pretty well. I actually ended up going to Arizona a week and a half ago. And I got my period as I was coming home from Arizona. So until I got to Arizona, and when I was in Arizona, the pain was pretty manageable. I was able to take an ibuprofen or, you know, a couple Tylenol throughout the day and space them out, and it was actually controlling my pain. I was still in some pain. You can ask my family members and my friends that I saw when I was there. It was not the best. I was still in pain, but I needed to go for career reasons, and because I'm moving there, I wanted to check out the area. I hadn't been back there in 5 years. While I was there, it was kind of manageable. The pain was still there and it was still prevalent, but it wasn't as bad, and I could feel my body was actually healing and starting to get better. So I was like, yes, this is great. Then I come home and I get my period, and it's like I'm back to square one and even worse. Like this pain that I'm having now during my first cycle after the surgery is actually more painful than the actual like few days after my surgery. I'm having more pain now than I did then. I'm glad I waited because I wanted to film this video about 2 weeks ago. Before I actually went to Arizona, I was going to film this, and I was like, maybe I should just wait and, you know, wait for at least a month out and see how I feel. And I'm glad I waited because it's really nice for me to be able to tell you guys how it actually feels getting your first period cycle after your surgery, if you have a surgery like this. And just be prepared because it does not feel great. It's gonna really suck. So I'm really sorry for anyone that has to go through this. But at least you kind of know now that your first cycle after a surgery like this, probably your first couple cycles, I'm assuming for myself, they're gonna be kind of difficult. It feels great to finally get all that off my chest and tell you guys about what I've been going through. Another side effect that I want to mention, before my surgery, I was experiencing a lot of acne issues. And as you guys saw probably a few videos ago, my skin was looking really great. Like my skin was looking beautiful. And I think in my skin tools video, I think I kept my skin like bare. I had nothing on my skin and my skin looked so nice. And I was like, oh, I'm finally doing everything right. I had a beautiful routine down. And then the acne started. And I was like, where is this coming from? Like, I've been using really good high quality products plus my Curology, which is also really high quality. And I was like, it's not my skincare doing this. Like, what is causing this? And I realized it was those stupid hormones that I've been going through. And I've had cystic acne throughout this entire journey over the 4 years. I never had acne before. I would have a pimple pop up here and there, but I had really beautiful skin growing up. And I was really blessed to not have acne. And I got acne during this whole process because your hormones are so imbalanced that it causes acne most of the time. And so I've been dealing with cystic acne and hormonal acne for 4 years. It's gotten recently very bad. My skin texture has been horrible. I've been using my retinol frequently, and it's helping to resurface my skin and dry out all that acne. As I turn, if I sit like this, you kind of can't see it as much. I'm starting to break out on my cheeks again, which I haven't had in a very long time. It's weird because this side, except for right here, this side is perfectly fine, and then this side is all freaking out. And I have no acne on my forehead, thank goodness. But I think I actually have like a couple like little teeny tiny guys of just like irritation bumps, which is whatever. But the majority has been here on my chin, and from all the doctors I've seen and from a lot of, you know, things I've researched online, this is usually all hormonal here. It sucks. It makes your confidence drop. You feel like you're not that bitch anymore because you got acne all over your face. But let me tell you, you're still that bitch. Just work it. Just own it. Try and cover it up as best as you can. Try and take care of it as best as you can. But you're still that bitch even if you've got acne, okay? I'm here to tell you that. Confidence is key. It's hard, it sucks, but you've got it, you gotta deal with it, you gotta just embrace it. And that's what I've been doing. You know, obviously I'm covering up my zits, but I'm not using a full coverage foundation, and I'm not using heavy mattifying concealers and covering my face and caking it up. Like, if I come close, you guys can still see my freckles, so you can still see them on my nose. I don't like to wear heavy foundations. For me personally, I think that makes my skin look worse, so I like to go with a lighter foundation. So I pack a little bit more concealer down in this area, but even then, I feel like it's more natural to just kind of let it show through a little bit. And a lot of people don't even really notice your acne as much as you do. You know, you're your own worst critic. As bad as you think it is, it's probably not that bad. But get treatments done, go to a dermatologist, go to your gynecologist, get everything sorted out, and try and start treatments and see how everything helps. I just hope that this video helped someone. If it helped you, please like it, please comment down below. Message me on Instagram. My Instagram is always linked below. If you guys are going through something like this, or if you're going through a hard time in general, please feel free to message me. So I'm hoping that this has shed some light to some people and said, you know, if you are having pain, go to the doctor. Or, you know, if you do have a cyst, it's not the end of the world. There are surgical options. There are non-surgical options like birth control and stuff like that. So you just have to take the right steps for your body and figure out what you want to do. Now for me, I tried to regulate it for years with birth control and it just didn't work. And that cyst still stayed. So I just decided that's it. It's gotta go. Thank you guys so much for listening to this video. I know it was a lot. I wanted to put this video out there to help people and to help you guys maybe understand what I've been going through and understand a little bit more about me and my story. I just wanted to be a little bit more vulnerable with you guys. If you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell if you guys want to get notified every single time that I'm posting. Thank you guys so much for watching today especially. I will see you guys in my next video.